Hi everyone, and welcome to this end-to-end tutorial where we will be diving into building a simple full-stack web application that integrates with OpenAI's powerful API, but also augments it with additional useful functionality. Whether you're a beginner looking to explore the world of AI integration or a seasoned developer wanting to streamline your process, this tutorial is designed to take you through each step from setting up the environment to writing and executing your first AI-powered application. We will cover everything, including setting up the OpenAI project, building a front-end interface and a back-end service, connecting it all to the OpenAI API for real-time AI responses, using OpenAI response to trigger something useful. By the end of this tutorial, you'll have a fully functional web app that taps into OpenAI's capabilities, and you'll have the foundation to expand on it in your own projects. The application we will be building today is an AI-based domain name generator, which also checks domain name availability in real time. This started off as something I needed for another project, but I decided to make it into a full tutorial to show how applications can leverage AI and other third-party functions. So let's get started. Of course, we have to create a folder for our project. Let's have some fun with it and call it Dominator for AI-based domain generator. Then we'll go in the VS Code, open that folder. We'll initialize it in Git. And then I'll store it in my GitHub. I'll link in the description to the GitHub repository with where all the code is going to be located. It's going to be a Node-based JS application, so let's initialize it. Domainator version 1, description, AI-based domain name generator. Index.js. Yes, that's fine. As always, we'll have like a simple HTML page as the front end user interface, and maybe we'll make it a little prettier today, but we'll see. In the back end, I'll do my usual ExpressJS running on Node, performing all of the functionality of this project, like talking to the OpenAI APIs and validating domain names against the library that I'm going to show you in a few minutes. So we'll have to install some packages, some needed packages. So Express for sure. I usually need cores to talk to the front end. And for environment variables to store things like OpenAI API key and maybe something else we'll see. I like to run things in NodeMon because then I don't have to reload the project every time. We definitely need OpenAI. And today I'm actually gonna use a library that I found just recently. It's called a Whoiser. The reason why I'm gonna do that is in order to verify if a domain name is available, you generally have to go either do like an online domain name search like through GoDaddy or some other ones like Namecheap, GoDaddy, whatever. They all have domain registration kind of search facility. What I found before, and I've been burned by this a couple of times, and I'm sure if you Google it, there's hundreds of people who have been burnt by this, is you go and you search something on one of the kind of mainstream domain search tools, but and then a few hours later you search again, or I mean you find an available domain, you search it again a few hours later, and sure enough it's already taken. So a lot of these will, and again from what I read, from what I heard, is that they also use AI to catch domain names that are nice sounding domain names and things like that, and they will put a hold on them immediately, or not immediately, but within 15-20 minutes if you don't register it. So I've been burned by this before. I found a perfect domain name for one of my businesses, and I wasn't entirely sure. In fact, I wanted to do a corporate name search to make sure that I can register it as a corporation. So I waited maybe a day and a half, and I went back to search, and sure enough, it was taken. So I had to register it with a local .ca, since I'm in Canada, .ca domain instead of a .com, which was kind of a bummer. So this library here allows you to search against the actual registrars. There is a list of registrars. If you open and look inside the library, there is a list of top level registrars that you can search against, bypassing all of the online kind of tools. I mean, they do the same thing, right? So why do that if you can go straight to the source? I could develop it myself, but I found this library is pretty nice library. It works pretty well. So far the results have been accurate, so why not use it? So I'll get all this installed. Make sure it's all here. Usually we'll say type equals module to execute ES style syntax, and for starting, as always, Node, but because I'm doing NodeMon instead, I usually have a dev instance of the start script. Okay. All right. So now let's create some of the files in the project. Since we're using AI for this project, why don't we let AI create some of the content for us as well? I have a subscription to the GitHub Copilot in my VS Code, and it's added as an extension. So let's see how good the Copilot can be in generating some simple code. All right, so let's start with creating the front end, and then we'll have to create the back end and some of the OpenAI projects as well, and API keys. So first things first, let's say I need an HTML page styled using the latest Bootstrap 5.3 framework that shows a text area asking the user to describe the desired domain name. The text area is in a form that upon submission will send the text area content to the backend. Response from the backend will be displayed in a container div below the form. That's it. Just keep it like it. We'll fix anything else manually. Okay, let's see. So the Copilot is generating some text or some code here, some HTML code. All right, so what we can do is just create a new file called index.html and take this code and paste it right in here. All right, so right away I think this Bootstrap link is wrong. So let's go and get it from here. Here's our style sheets. And here's our, we're missing them. Oh, it's using jQuery. You know what, let's restart this actually. I don't want to use jQuery, I just want it to be completely plain vanilla HTML. So let's do the same thing. Let's say HTML page, and we can say do know how to use jQuery, just plain JS. Okay, so that looks a little better. Let's copy this. We'll have to fix our linkages to Bootstrap. That's one. And here's the other bundle. So we can copy the script portion of this. Okay, let's see what else do we have here. So we have a container that shows us just the title, describe your desired domain name, the form, domain description with a text area, and submit button. Pretty straightforward. And then we have the response container div that's going to be populated by the response content. Okay, so now we have a script that will add a listener for the submit button. We'll get the description text area. We'll have to put our destination here once we have it. And then it's going to post the contents of the description, wait for the response, and then see, Copilot even took some liberties in terms of, because we're using Bootstrap, it's actually taken some liberty to color code the response, whether it's an error message or actual content that we desire. Okay, so that's good. I think that's good. Save it. Let's try it out. So it's going to be on a local host, running in an app called Dominator. Perfect. All right, so we have a Bootstrap default themed web page. Looks pretty nice. We have domain description, so you can say I need a domain name for a cupcake online store. Submit, and we have an error. Obviously, we don't have anything in the backend yet, so we got the error and seems to be correctly color coding it. Okay, so now let's work on the backend. Now, before we work on the backend, let's actually go and create our project in OpenAI, so we can use that API to make some calls. All right, so we're here in OpenAI, and we have to create a new project. We'll call it same thing, Dominator. We go to it, and we have to, so yeah, we got the chat, we got the assistants, think just chat is probably enough for today. We have a choice of which model to use. We can probably go up to something a little bit more intelligent. Temperature, maximum tokens, we don't even need that much, but that's okay, we'll leave that. Okay, everything looks good here. Save it. Scope reset 1 or something. Okay. So now we need the API key, so we can just go to project API keys. We are in the Dominator project. Create a new secret key. Just call it the app or something like that. That's optional. Project, create secret key. We'll copy it and we'll have to record it for, actually, you know what, let's just record it in here. Okay, just in a text editor. We'll say done. If you don't copy it, it's gone and you have to delete and recreate a new one, which is kind of a typical approach to this. So if you read the documentation, it tells you exactly how to do it. The API key, there was here. So in our environment, we're gonna have to create this this variable here. So I don't know if they have a specific example of that, but anyways, we basically have to copy this, create an environment variable, new file, .env, paste this, and then our API key that we recorded will go into this location right here. And we'll save it, and we're good. So now we need the backend to handle our submission and do all the domain name checking, or domain name availability checking, I should say. I mean, we could create a new file called index.js, because that's going to be our main file. Let's ask our Copilot to generate like a basic ExpressJS file as well, and we'll fix it. So we can either start a new chat or just continue this one. Let's start a new one. Start a new one. And we'll say create a basic express.js index.js file that will have a single post entry. Just go with that. Very, very basic. This looks good. Oh, actually, let's say rewrite this using ES6 syntax. We don't need to use the body parser. No need to use body parser. We'll use express.json. Okay, that's more like it. Okay, we'll copy that, paste it here, and now we need to add some additional stuff. So we'll say, well, first of all, yeah, so we'll say import course from course, import dot env, no, sorry, dot env slash config, to make it all happen. So express port is going to be 3000. App use. So somewhere here we have to say app.use course, and let's call our route domain jet or something. Okay, that's it for now. Save that. That's all we need for now. Just to test it, we'll go back here, change our form submission to domain gen. So that should right now respond with just our data that we sent it. It's going to send it right back. Okay, so we go here and restart. Actually, we can just, oh no, we have to restart. Restart, say just hello world, submit. Oh, error occurred. What is the error? Where are we sending data? Oh, of course, we haven't started our application yet. So npm run dev. We're running on port 3000. And error. Test 1, 2, 3, 4. 404. Oh, of course, it's port 3000, and so it's going to be we have to provide the full full URL. So it's going to be HTTP localhost port 3000 domain gen. Okay, let's try that. Start this. Hello world. Data received. Perfect. Except it did not respond with our data back because we need to say what are we sending here? We are sending description. So we say direct body description is what we're sending. Okay, and now we can say, okay, so let's look at the code again. So we're calling description, we're sending back message. Oh, I see what's happening. So we are displaying the response. It's going to come as a JSON object, which will have a message and a data as a separate parameters. So we can either combine them, or we can just say display success, and then we can maybe add another div, and we can say data, I guess would be that, or we just rename this to, we'll just keep data. Names. Okay. Start this. And here we go. Okay. And now that we have the communication between front end and the back end working, let's add some code to the back end of it. First things first is we have to start importing the OpenAI library, and once that's all done, we have to create a client. So we'll just call it OpenAI. AI, and what we need is organization and a project ID, so both are in quotes. So we need to go back to our OpenAI and go into the, well, we got two things. There is the organization ID that we need to put in here. Of course, we could use environment variables. Why don't we use environment variables? So let's say OpenAI org ID, which will be this, and OpenAI project ID, which will not be that, of course. It will be our project ID. So let's save this. Org ID and project ID. Okay, perfect. Next step would be to connect to the actual OpenAI endpoint and to communicate with it, like sending the prompt, getting a response and displaying it back on the HTML front end page. So we start by creating the connection to the OpenAI engine, and we do it by creating a response, and we use OpenAI. We don't use completions, that's old. We use chat.completions, create this is an asynchronous call, so we have to say an await here, and because it's inside this function, this has to be async as well. Now the model is going to be GPT-4o-mini, the one that we've chosen. Let's add a max tokens value to it to limit our usage. And then messages. So it would be something like role system. Sure. Role user content data. That's one too many open brackets. Okay, so that's going to generate some response. Now we have to take that response and extract like a result of it. So let's say, yes, that's actually quite perfect. Response, no data, is response choices. It's going to be the first one, message content. Okay, and then we take that result and we throw it into the data response back to the front end. Okay, so let's save that. Let's clear console just to make sure, and we'll see if there's any errors. Go back to the front end, clear everything, restart, and say what is the meaning of life? Submit, and we get a response from ChatGPT. So this is perfect. We've called our backend, which called ChatGPT, which responded with some content, and we display it back to the front end UI. Okay. So now the next step would be to limit the response by specifying exactly what we needed to do. And we start off by saying, well, so the content or the description that we're going to receive from the front end, we specifically want it to be used in a domain name creation context, right? So we have to add some stuff around it. But the way I would do it is, okay, so the data is going to be the description. Then I'm going to say request, or let's say domain request equals generate a list of 10 domain name ideas for the following description. Something like that. Okay. Save it and let's rerun our thing. So let's say again, robotic delivery pizza shop. Submit. Oh, I forgot something. Because we now have a domain request instead of data, so we have to use that in here as domain request. Okay, so let's rerun this. And now we have a list of domain names: robopizzaexpress.com, pizzadelivery.com, license service robots, so on and so forth. Okay, so we have to limit it now to not just using .com, because we don't know what domain that we ultimately decide on, and we also don't want it to auto complete those, so we have to augment this prompt a little more and say do not dot do not add a domain extension, return the list JSON array. That's exactly, actually, in fact, that's exactly what we wanted to do to be in the end. Because we want the response to be in an actual JSON format, we have to add a response format parameter. Response format, and it's type JSON. It's JSON object. JSON underscore object is the correct syntax for this. Now this syntax, as far as I remember, is for GPT-4. GPT-3 uses a slightly different, or 3.5 I should say, uses slightly different formatting for this. I think it's, yeah, so as you can see, it says right up top there that GPT-4o, GPT-4o-mini for Turbo, and all GPT 3.5 Turbo newer than certain version. So anything older than that uses a slightly different syntax for that. Okay, so let's save this. Go back to our application. Wait delivery pizza shop, submit, and we get a perfectly formatted JSON object as a response. So domain names, and then go through a list of domain names. Now it's time for our application to do the actual domain name lookup. For this, we're going to use this other library that I've installed called Whoiser. So we'll import that. So the data coming back, let's make sure it's not going to cause any issues with kind of varying response from ChatGPT. So let's say the list of names will come as a flat JSON array, so maybe just one level. We will then capture the response here, or the result. So the result, we're going to have to parse the JSON response. And in fact, let's see exactly what it looks like. So we know what the structure of the response or of the JSON object will be. So come here again and we'll rerun this. Okay, so now we're getting back an object, that's good. So this looks like a flat kind of one level object with a single array inside called domain names in camel case with a list of 10 potential domain names. Okay, so what do we do with that? We will, well, first of all, we have to create an object to hold our lookup information. It's going to be an empty object. After that, we need to iterate through the list of domain names. So domain names, as we saw that, we're going to iterate through that array. In here, we have to create, well, first of all, create a domain with suffix domain plus .com. So we'll do just .com right now. I mean, in the future, can make this application better. We can let the user choose a suffix, maybe as a separate drop-down box. So I mean, there's really, you know, lots of potential or lots of directions you can take this application. So .com, then we do a, so now we have to do a lookup. Domain, let's call it info. So we're gonna use the whoiser to do the lookup. Now it's gonna come back as a big massive object, JSON object with the registration data contained in it. So we say all we want is to get the register data. So register data. Let's say it's going to be domain info. Now it's going to come as a text, as a variable text object. So we have to grab the first parameter in that object. So object keys domain info 0. Okay, perfect. So that's going to be the first parameter. In that parameter, we're looking for something called domain status, and so that's going to be in registrar data, and it's called domain space status. That's what's going to be inside the object. So once we get that, it's either going to be an empty array or it's going to be something that will have the domain status and the name servers, I believe, is in that status, in that domain status array. It's an array of the name servers. So basically, if it comes back empty, means that the domain is not registered. If it comes back with some data like name servers, means that the domain is registered and is unavailable to register. So, meaning it's already taken. So we can look for basically size of the array. If it's 0, we can say that domain. It's Copilot is very smart. It knows exactly what I'm trying to do. Else domain taken. Perfect. So it's going to be that, and then okay, so before we return it to the front end, let's just make sure that we actually get the information we're looking for. Okay, so iterate. Okay, let's run this and see what happens. Same thing, so we run this. Oh, something failed. Result domain name is not available. Okay, let's run this again. Oh, okay, so I think it was just confused about the response from ChatGPT. So perfect. This is exactly what I was hoping for. We got the names. In fact, what we should do is, instead of adding domain, we should say domain with suffix. So that it tells us like domain.com available again in the future in case we decide to look up different domain names like .net, .org, things like that. So we'll run this again. Perfect. So now we got the list of domain names with the suffix and information whether it's available or not. See, all of these are available. Let's run this again. All of these are also available. Run this again. Looking for something that's going to be taken. I mean, let's take a sample, robopizzadelivery.com. Just want to see if this is accurate or not. So we can go domain name lookup. We can just use GoDaddy. Robopizzadelivery.com is indeed available. we've seen some that were taken, so let's look for something that's nothing that's taken. Okay, let's clear this. I want to see if we can hit something that's going to be taken already. Okay, maybe let's look for something else. Social marketing help assistant. What is there available? Okay, let's shorten the response so that we can have more chance of domain name being taken already. Here, let's the domain names for description. Keep the domain name under 10 characters. Okay, let's see if we can have a better idea now. Perfect. Okay, so now we have some available and some taken. So let's say marketingpal or mktgpal.com. Look that up. I think it's GoDaddy. Yeah. Let's use Bluehost. So mktgpal.com is available, just like it says here. Let's take something that's taken, sociaid.com. Sociaid.com is taken. Okay, so this works exactly as intended. Now we just need to bring it to the front end and style it to make it look pretty on the front end. That first of all, we have to make sure we send this object to the front end. So instead of the result, we're gonna send the domain lookups object. We'll keep console log here just for some troubleshooting, but this is pretty much done for the index.js file for the backend service. For the front end, I think the best way to display this data would be just in a simple table, and we can make it striped or something like that for a little bit more fancier kind of look. So we've been displaying the data just in the div that we've created before. So I think what we can do is, first of all, let's change this around a bit. Capture the response container in a variable. Then we'll add the heading. Like before, we will not display the data as a text, but instead we'll create a table. So make a table. To create table, we'll have to create table body. Then we're gonna have to loop through the data. So data was our response, I think. Yes, so it comes back as data. Okay, so data is our for loop, and we create a row, and then we create a cell, and then we put the text. No, create. Before we do that, so this will be the value. So before we show the value, we'll put the domain name itself. Then we will append text correctly. We'll append the cell to the row. Before we do that, we have to create a new one. So we can just create a new one. Cell text, now we put the value as in available or taken, and I think we should maybe add some color to it. Available, then no, we want to set attribute text success. Okay, that looks good. Else we put danger, which is going to be red, so green or red. Okay, now once that's done, we will just append that text to the row, and then we append, sorry, we append the text to the cell, we append the cell to the row, and we have to append the row to the body. Okay, so that's going to create, it's going to generate all the rows based on the object that came back. Then we have to append the table to the, or table body to the table, and finally append the table to the response container that we had. And finally, let's say we set the attribute, the class for the table as a striped table. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. Let's test our setup. I can probably close this. So our new desired domain name will be for a business that uses I don't know, mud to detail boats. Oh, something is off with our. Anyways, you can see the table comes up. Something is off with our coloring here. Let's go back here. Oh, I think it's just case sensitive, so available has to be capital A over here. Let's rerun this. Perfect. Oh no, we have to restart the page. So let's say the new business will be something we used before is our delivery of soda stream machines. And there we go. So we got the coloring taken available. We got the domain names which we can test, but I think this is pretty accurate based on the response from the top level registrars. So I mean, this is pretty much the complete application. I mean, we can add some things. As I said, we can change the suffix selection, maybe add some drop-down boxes here on top to be able to select the suffix. We can maybe change the maximum or allow user to change the maximum number of characters. As you remember, we've set the characters maximum to 10. For the response coming back from ChatGPT. Or from GPT, and we can make it a variable. Let the user make changes to it. I mean, there are lots of other things you can do, but those are all extras, and maybe I will incorporate some of the stuff, and then um, in the GitHub code that I will share, you will have additional functionality added to this tool. So that's pretty much it for the application. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more content like this, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so that you'll never miss an update. If you have any questions or feedback, please drop them in the comments below. I'd love to hear from all of you. Or visit my website, harchenko.net, and all my contact information is there. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.